So you want to become an LPC, a counselor, a shrink, what most people call a therapist, but you don't know how. I'm currently a counseling trainee in Texas. I can share with you my experience, my journey in becoming a counseling trainee here in Texas. Keep in mind requirements to be a therapist, or more specifically, a licensed professional counselor, changes and varies from state to state. But my story should give you more or less an idea of what it takes to become a licensed professional counselor. And then I will follow up with some tips and tricks on how to begin your process in your state and make sure that you're aware of all the qualifications. So let's get started. When I started my journey with school, I began at a community college, a 2-year community college. I received my associate's degree. I took a little bit of a break, then I went to a 4-year college, university here in Texas, for psychology. After that, I pretty much hung up my chances for grad school because, unfortunately, I was less than responsible all the time. I also didn't know about dropping classes, so I thought if work interfered with my school schedule, I just had to take an F. I didn't realize that there was a process as long as you caught it early enough. And to be honest, the university that I went to, you could drop a class up until a couple weeks before the class was over. But I didn't know that. So I did end up taking a couple of Fs, and my GPA was down the tubes. So with that being said, I kind of gave up on my dream, and I've always wanted to be an LPC, or a therapist. So I was working at a job with my bachelor's degree in psychology teaching parenting classes. Then I noticed one of my coworkers was going to school. She started attending a school that is an extension of a major university elsewhere in Texas that has a brand new campus here in my city. I was really excited to hear. I felt like her and I were pretty equal, so if she could hack it, maybe I could too. So that was my initial inspiration. I thought, well, why don't I go ahead and apply, even though I know my GPA is awful, right? So what the hell? I did it, and I applied. And lo and behold, I never expected the acceptance letter to come in the mail. So when I got accepted, I was elated. With the acceptance letter, they did let me know that I would need to get testing before the end of my first semester. Now, by testing, I mean the MAT or the GRE. The MAT and the GRE are tests that are very much like the SATs when you want to go to a 4-year university, but it's for getting into grad school. Now, the vast majority of programs, from what I understand, require you, of course, to take these tests before entering grad school. My school, maybe because they're new, said, okay, we'll give you the whole first semester that you're enrolled to take and pass one of these 2 exams, and some schools may only say you can only take the GRE, but my school allowed the GRE and the GMAT. So you had the whole first semester to complete and pass with an acceptable score the GRE or the GMAT. So I went ahead and enrolled, and I was very, very excited to start. And I met with an advisor. Now, this school is rather new. This campus of this school is new. The school is really old, but the campus of this particular school is very new, meaning less students, meaning more one-on-one attention. The 4-year university I went to was so big that I always felt really blown off by advisors. They would say, look it up online. They never seemed to have time to meet. It was really frustrating. But I got very good one-on-one attention when I went to this new school. Now, the advisor did tell me all the requirements in my state, Texas, to become a LPC or a counselor. And I want to put a footnote here. There are 3 different tracks in my school. So you can be a marriage and family therapist, you can be a school counselor, or you can be an LPC. Basically, a therapist who can see just about anybody, but you wouldn't work in a school setting. So, of course, I picked the LPC track. She let me know that I had, again, the first semester to pass the entrance exam for the school, even though I was already in. And then she let me know that the first year of the program is basically, regular classes like you would take at undergrad at a 4-year university, just typical. But full-time for a graduate student there was 3 classes instead of your typical 4 for undergrad. So I started taking 3 classes at a time. She also let me know that basically so it's a 2-year program. The first year you're taking classes. The second year you are doing what are called practicums or internships. Both are basically the same thing, meaning you pick a site, you apply to that site, you work for real life folks, live with clients at different settings, a setting similar to that you want to work at when you're done, when you graduate. Along with that, there's a class called practicum where you have one of your professors supervise you for the real world experience that you're getting. So for instance, let's say I was doing my internship at a hospice. I would have a class that I go to on campus to discuss my clients and what I'm doing at the hospice, making sure that I'm not harming anybody, that I'm doing a good job. So that's that. So you do that this whole second year. You take the class with the internship. You also take an elective each one of those last 2 semesters. So you've got your real life experience that you're doing, then you have a class to talk about your real life experience, and then you have an elective of some kind. Electives are very different in grad school. It's not like this wide range of electives like undergrad. They're very specific to what it is that you want to do. So then, after that, you take something called the comps at my school. The comps are a comprehensive examination, basically specific questions from every course that you have taken since you started school. So if you've taken theories of counseling, you would have questions on that. If you had taken lifespan development, you're going to have a couple of classes from your lifespan development class. So that being the case, you'll take a comprehensive exam over all the classes that you have taken in your 2 years at that school, just to make sure that you've absorbed all the knowledge and you know what it is that you're supposed to know. So then if you pass your comps and you pass all your classes, then you're ready to graduate and you're ready to practice, right? You're ready to be Frasier. Not quite. The way that works is you actually end up having to do another internship afterwards. So after you graduate your 2-year program, and in that second year you are doing some internships while still a student, then you take your comps, you graduate, and then you have another 3,000-hour internship. Now, before you get scared, know that 3,000-hour internship is paid, usually paid, and you, of course, apply for the site like you're applying for a job. The reason why it's called an internship is because the license that you want is an LPC, a licensed professional counselor. But when you graduate, you'll have a license as an LPCI, a licensed professional counselor intern, which means you need another licensed professional counselor with an LPCS certification, a licensed professional counselor supervisor certification, to just keep their eyeballs on you. Make sure you're not messing anybody up. Make sure you're not messing up. Make sure if you need any help, that support is there for you. So you still need somebody to technically supervise you for that first 3,000 hours. But basically, once you graduate, you're functioning as if you are a regular therapist, except for you're not likely to go into private practice for yourself or anything like that. You're probably going to work at a place that provides a supervisor to just make sure you're doing all right. But really, you're doing most of it on your own, and then you're meeting with your supervisor every so often just to make sure everything is okay. Because the job is it's a serious job. You know, you're helping people with life issues, and there's a lot of times really vulnerable when they come to you. So everybody wants to make sure that you are doing the best possible job for that client. So after your 3,000 hours, yay, you're good to go. And in my state, I think you have 2 years, 2 years to complete that 3,000 hours of internship. You can't take like 10 years to do your hours. There's a specific period of time. So, onto the advice. Like the no matter where you live or where you come from advice. This is just a good advice for anybody who wants to be a counselor. So, if you're a high school student, you might choose to go directly to a four-year university and get a degree in something like psychology or sociology. Or you can go to your community college like I did, save a couple bucks, save a lot of bucks, okay, and get maybe an associate's degree in psychology. That's what I did. Then you can transfer to a four-year university to do your last 2 years, or if you started with a four-year university, go ahead and go for all 4 years. Now, by this time, you might have wanted to pick out a graduate school because that way you know what degree that you need for their graduate program. Like the school that I go to, I know I have some lawyers in my class, former attorneys, and they don't have an undergraduate degree in psychology or sociology or any related field. But the graduate program you might want to get into might require a very specific degree. I liked psychology for my undergrad degree. Psychology was very different than I thought it would be because I always assumed psychology was learning about how to directly help people, basically what counseling is, right? But psychology, you learn more about research, at least in my school, research and, sometimes rats in a box and why the rat pushes a lever and why the dog salivates and that kind of stuff. And statistical calculations, which is really, really important. And I'm glad I did it. But now I'm like, breath of fresh air, I can do counseling. Now I know in grad school how to begin to help people with my psychology knowledge. So your first step is to figure out what school you want to go to. Do you want to go to a 2-year school and save a couple bucks? Do you want to just start at a 4-year? Before you finish your 4th year of school, I recommend that you go to the graduate program that you want to use and speak to an advisor. One of the first questions that you will want to have for that advisor is if the school is CACREP accredited. CACREP accreditation, C-A-C-R-E-P, just means that, what CACREP accreditation does for you is it makes your certification once you graduate, once you're done with everything, more portable. Meaning, I live in Texas now, and if I went to a CACREP accredited school, I could move to Louisiana, I could move to New York, I could move anywhere in the United States, and it should be easy for me to begin working. Now, if you go to a non-CACREP accredited school, and you know that you're going to want to move around later on in life, you may have to take additional classes once you move to do your certification. There might be extra steps or processes. You might have to go back to school. So just keep that in mind. For me, the school that I'm going to has the lowest tuition rate in Texas, in my city. And I thought that was very attractive. They had the lowest tuition rate. And also, they're a very small campus, so I came from a huge 4-year university, and it was just exhausting getting around there. There wasn't a lot of one-on-one attention. I love that school. I love it, but I was ready for something smaller. I really wanted to invest in my education this time. I told you last time I had a very low GPA, and right now I'm rocking a 4.0. So I chose my school, but because they're a new campus, they're all on track to being CACREP accredited, but they're not quite there yet. And so it is a bit of a gamble going to school that's not CACREP accredited, but I think it's going to be all right. You may choose, now that you have that information, to make a different choice. I urge you to look at the CACREP accreditation website. Just Google it and figure out if it's worth it to you. Does it have to be a CACREP school for you? I've heard, and I'm not sure if this is true, that even the Harvard counseling program is not CACREP accredited. Don't quote me on it, but you can look it up and see for yourself if that's a true fact. Because I wanted to point that out because CACREP accreditation is not necessarily the end-all be-all if it's a good school or not. So I just want you to make an informed choice. Another thing when choosing a graduate program is definitely, how are the advisors? Because advisors really easily can make you waste a lot of time and money at school if they're not directing you into the right classes at the right time. Another thing, I want to point out, you're not going to get rich. You're not. You're not going to be poor, but you're not going to be rich, and you're not going to make what a lot of people with master's degrees and other subjects are making. So be prepared to know that, you're getting paid less for a lot of schooling. I also urge you to go on to the National Bureau of Labor and Statistics, and I'll link it down below, and find your state and find counseling and see what the average wage is where you are for a counselor. Now, you may say at this point, I don't care, but you might be shocked at how low it is. So go ahead, take a moment before you even commit, before you go even further. Make sure you love it enough to make it worth it. I did that step. I saw it paid like crap. And you know what? I was happy with it because I could never picture doing anything else in my life. So that's something else to keep in mind. I also think that it is a good idea, if you are interested in counseling, to call up a counselor and ask them, tell them, once you're in school, to show that you're serious, maybe not when you're not even registered for school, but once you get to the point that you're in school, call up a counselor and say, hey, you know what, I'd really like to pick your brain, preferably a counselor who does counseling in the way that you hope to do it someday. So if you want to work with children, somebody who works for children. If you want to be in private practice, somebody who's in private practice. Ask them out to lunch. Tell them you're buying, and trust me, you will not believe how often they will oblige you. They will. Even going through LinkedIn is a great way. I've met professional counselors on LinkedIn, took them to lunch, picked their brain, and found out what the real deal is. Because sometimes it can be confusing. I just told you a whole bunch of steps. You've got to get a 4-year degree. Then you've got to get a master's degree. And then you've got to do a lengthy internship before you can practice on your own. And then you're done. But then also there was the testing in between. And I forgot the state licensure exam. Sorry about that. You do need the state licensure exam as well to become an LPC. You can look that up for your state. In any case, get with another counselor. Make sure that there's nothing that you're missing, no steps in the process to you becoming a successful counseling student. I really wish you luck in your journey. I have never been happier than starting this program. Undergrad was fun. It was a little bit of a drag, though, because you don't only learn about what it is you want to learn about. You're having to take math classes and English classes and all these other things. But once you're in grad school, you're immersed in what it is that you want to do. So it's really rewarding. It's really fulfilling. You get to work with real-life clients. And if you already have a bachelor's degree by chance, think if you could add 2 more years, and a bachelor's degree in psychology pays even worse than a master's degree in counseling. So add 2 more years to your education, give yourself a pay raise, and do something that you love. Because a lot of people with a bachelor's degree in psychology are not working in psychology. So if that's you and you have a bachelor's degree in psychology and you want to help people, you want to use it to help people, this is a pretty fairly quick in the grand scheme of things way to accomplish that. 2 years of your life, no big deal. If you're invested, if you have an honest and sincere drive to help people. So that's all I'm going to say on the matter. I hope to bring you future videos as I progress in my counseling training and let you know if there's any new things that I learn or find. But thanks for spending some time with me today. Have a great day. Bye.